All right, so we are live. Welcome to the 7 tips to making better YouTube videos. It's kind of a filmmaking 101. Hope you guys are ready to have your minds blown with our filmmaking knowledge.
Brought to you by Freaking Rad.
So hi, I'm Boston.
I'm Rennie.
Yeah, and we are the creators behind Freaking Rad. And we're just going to kind of get in and answer some questions a lot of people have asked us about how we make the high quality YouTube videos that we make, and give you some basic advice. This is a great kind of tutorial and live stream to sort of, if you like filmmaking or you're just a general creative person and want to market yourself on YouTube, this is going to be a great kind of whet your appetite crash course with our 7 tips that we would give you to kind of set you on your path, give you the torch to light the way.
Yeah, lighting the way, but also just scratching the surface.
Really, yeah. So this is going to be kind of just a general overview, but these are some things, hopefully some pointers that we've learned along the way in our YouTube videos that really kind of made the difference. So for those who are familiar with our channel, we make all kinds of sci-fi action adventure videos. You know, everything from Halo vs. Destiny, which is one of our popular videos, a lot of Star Wars cosplay, all kinds of cool stuff. And we've worked with, you know, all kinds of athletes, and we basically make fun sci-fi action adventure videos on Freaking Rad. Yeah, and kind of along that journey, YouTube itself has changed a lot. And people talk about, you know, all kinds of algorithm changes that are completely changing their business, and the whole time I felt like we really, even though we've been affected by a lot of those changes, our business model and how we've made money and how we've continued to make videos as a sustainable living has never really changed. And so we're going to share with you a couple ideas that if you want to get into doing high quality videos, then here are some of the points, the tips and tricks we will share with you. So number 1 is learn the process from A to Z. So this basically comes down to learning how to make YouTube videos, learning how to make any video from start to finish kind of follows a similar process.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people assume that I'm just an actress and I'm just in front of the camera, but fact of the matter is I've actually worked on professional films. I've on all levels. I haven't necessarily done every position behind the camera, but I've been exposed to every position that's necessary before, during, and after the filmmaking process, which enables me to understand how to take a script and produce it myself now. So I just think it's really, really important to know if you're wanting to make films, how to do it from start to finish, because there are so many roles, there are so many people that come into play, and while I might not be able to edit as well as Boston, I actually do know the basics of editing and know how much time it takes and understand that you know, when we're on set, how it's going to cut together or how he's going to figure it out in post-production. That's really, really important to the process.
Yeah, and for anybody joining on chat right now as well, if you have any questions about filmmaking and the videos we've made, that sort of thing, just go ahead and shout them out there in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. But to kind of give a general idea, when we talk about filmmaking as a process, here's kind of like the overview, and this goes for YouTube, whether you're making YouTube videos or whether you're making feature films. You basically start out with this period that everybody calls development, right? Development is the first stage where you're coming up with an idea, and we do this by saying, okay, what's trending right now? What's interesting? Or what are things that we care about, you know? Is it a video game that's coming out? Is it, you know, just in general a funny concept? And you take that idea and you work it and try to come up with marketable titles and do all that sort of stuff, and that leads you into your pre-production stage, which pre-production a lot of times starts with you have a script and you have to figure out how are you going to achieve that script.
Where are you going to shoot it? What props do you need? How many people do you need to have on set? Like, you really need to break down the whole script in order to make sure you can execute on day of filming.
Yeah. And of course that leads into production, where you're going to be shooting, you're going to be going through, locations, all that sort of stuff, and traveling and bringing on food and people, or maybe it's just you and a couple of friends in your garage doing something.
Is it going to be hot? Is it going to be freezing? Are you going to be prepped for rain? Like, all of these things.
Cool. And the whole point of production is to get something in the can, as they say, so that you can take it, do the post-production or the editing, the special effects, the visual effects, all the things that you need to basically do that. But that's not where it ends. It really ends in distribution. And of course, that's what YouTube really is all about, right? Is we now have an opportunity to reach masses, millions upon millions of people, and be able to share with them whatever we're making, whatever we like or believe in, really quickly. But the process hasn't really changed. And so it's really important to think about that process and your end product when you're even in development, before you go through each of these stages. And then of course, once you kind of understand that process, it will inform what you're going to make. But that also leads into kind of our next tip, which is kind of something that took me a long time to figure out.
Yeah.
And that is some advice I got at one point from a couple of mentors. And it's tip number 2, finding your own voice. All right. And what exactly does that mean? I mean, how would you describe what your voice is?
Well, it can be different for everyone. As an actor, I think of it as my type, or like what type of roles do I play, which when I was 10 years ago, I really, I was auditioning for like Disney princess roles. And fact of the matter is like, I'm kind of a little bit edgier, a little more sassy, and
a little more Lara Croft,
a little in my personality. And it's not like maybe I could never play Ariel or Belle from Beauty and the Beast, but I am more likely to play the stepsister than I am going to play Cinderella, right? And I think it's similar in with writing a script, like what tone, who are you in your essence, and how is that going to come out on paper?
Yeah. And I think, so I had a really cool opportunity a couple of years ago. I interviewed Stan Lee and asked him this question of like, how do you come up with your stories? But he had some amazing advice that actually we're going to share a brief clip from a video that I made, cut together from that interview, of Stan Lee's advice to, it particularly speaks to writers, but it could be anyone. If you're a writer, if you're a filmmaker, if you're just an artist in general, like what type of stories and what type of things should you make? So here's a little clip of Stan Lee, because he's probably going to give you better advice than I feel like we could. That's not Stan Lee. Here's Stan Lee.
As far as the writing goes, the only bit of advice I'd give: a lot of writers try to write for other people. Like they say, I think this story would be good for this type of person. I don't think you can ever do that, because you never really know other people. I always wrote for myself. In other words, I tried to write a story that I would enjoy reading. If I'd enjoy it, I'm not that unique. There must be lots of other people who have the same taste as I do. So I always write to please myself.
I just absolutely love what he says there, that he always wrote to please himself. He wants to tell stories that he would want to read. And that's how I feel like we've kind of approached Freaking Rad, is we wanted to make videos that frankly we would want to watch, and what's cool about YouTube is you're not really limited. You can make anything, and you can mash up characters from different universes. You can do all this and create things that a lot of people won't want to take risks on, but there's a lot of freedom in that. And if you can really figure out, what do I really enjoy, that's what you should pursue. We got a question in the chat basically saying that I know how to make videos, I know how to edit and to study, but I don't know what to base my YouTube channel on. And that's what you should figure out, is honestly, what is that nugget? What is something that you would want to do for the rest of your life? And your interests will change, and you're going to change as a person, But ultimately, if you just find something that you're like, I love this and I'm obsessed with this idea, don't sacrifice, well, this is going to be better, or this is going to sell, or this is going to be more marketable. Try to find something that, even if you want to do those other things, find something that really uniquely is something that you love.
Yeah, and I think the more of a unique niche that you have, the better on YouTube these days. But that doesn't mean that you have to be, all weird about it or something, or that you can't make a variety of videos. It does help to have a common thread. For instance, like, I'm very interested in health and fitness, but my health and fitness videos are not going to go on Freaking Rad because it doesn't really apply to that channel, right? So it's a little bit different that way.
Yeah, and I think it's super important to once you've like just got an idea of something you want to try, to go for it too. Just like balls to the wall, do what you're thinking of, and that leads kind of to our next tip, which is, once you have an idea, what do you do with it? Well, obviously write a script, but write a good script. And when we talk about like screenwriting, okay, you don't have to be an amazing writer, but the whole point of whether it's storyboards, screenwriting, in our recent video that we made, we talked about how I did thumbnails. You haven't seen it behind the scenes on Destiny Girl episode 3. I did thumbnails to kind of communicate, but the whole point of a script is to get everybody literally on the same page, as well as metaphorically, so that they all have a similar vision for what you're trying to create.
Boston and I bounce around ideas, so many ideas all the time about what we want to make, and I never really know what we're going to make until it's on a script. And that's the point where, when I have it in my hands, or if I'm reading it on the computer, I know exactly what we're doing. I know exactly how to produce it, and I can really envision how it's going to turn out. And not everybody's like that, but it does help putting it down on paper, and just for clarity of across the board. Typically our YouTube videos usually have at least a couple people helping us out, and it's so helpful to have everybody on this, like he said, on the same page, instead of just like running and gunning and figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for me also, like, just taking the time, and we'll talk about this in a second, taking the time to really flesh out an idea and really and go through the writing process, go through the storyboarding process, helps you make your ideas funnier, better, or whatever you're trying to do. It helps you become more concise. Even if your whole idea for a channel is, I just want to sit there and vlog and talk about my life, do a little pre-production.
Jot down an outline.
Write your outline down and know what you're going to talk about. I mean, obviously we have a presentation for this live stream, but it's going to make what we're going to say hopefully a little bit more concise, and hopefully, more entertaining as well. And once you kind of got that there though, and once you're able to, be able to communicate an idea to multiple people, comes the fun part, I think, for me, and that's really learning the craft of filmmaking. I went to film school, and I had the opportunity to learn from, professors, but also learn in a community where people were essentially, swapping positions and doing different jobs, and they were a director one day, a camera operator the next day, a screenwriter the next day, and then doing craft services, which is food on set, the next day. So we had a lot of really collaborative environment, but that's the fun part of filmmaking for me is the production, right? Mm-hmm. It's being on set and really translating a concept that's in your mind into reality.
Well, and I love this picture that you showed with number 4, because I think it really demonstrates how collaborative filmmaking is. In fact, I don't think most people realize, when you're looking at a movie or a television show, and you see this shot on the screen, how much goes into capturing that shot, whether it's in post-production or actually in production. In fact, I was on a little commercial shoot the other day for a skincare product, and there were lights galore and flags and ambiance and camera and makeup and so much going in to make literally like my face look perfect for one shot, that it's like that if it's not happening in production, it's happening in post-production, especially on videos like ours, where if we don't have a monster to actually interact with live, we're going to create it. You're going to create it in post, frankly, And
that kind of like leads into like the reason that this point of like learning the craft of filmmaking is really fun for me is it's really experimentation, and it's about trying new things. So if you want to get good at anything, you just got to go for it. And so my big piece of advice is if you want to learn the craft of filmmaking, do it. And don't be afraid to fail, or don't be afraid to, like, if you have a project, to even have to abandon a project because it wasn't what you were hoping for or looking for, and just move through it quickly. And
yeah, and I would say volunteer on people's sets. Like, especially if you're brand new, the best way to get hands-on experience is to go learn from somebody who knows what they're doing. And even if you have to volunteer for free, go work on a movie as a PA, or go intern at a production company or something and learn the ropes.
Which leads to, of course, tip number 5 is find collaborators on your level. I would even kind of amend this to say find collaborators on your level and maybe even above your level. So, and this is an interesting point for me, because really when it comes down to it, you want to make film, or you want to make, YouTube videos. That's going to require more than one person. They say an artist, a painter just needs a paintbrush and a canvas, right? But a filmmaker needs an army, right? And the whole idea is film is a collaborative medium where you need to find other people to work with to really make it happen. And you want to find people who are good at different disciplines. Find a different camera operator to be on your shoot. Find someone who's, but I would always say try to find someone who's at least as good as you are, or hopefully better. And they will help mentor you. They will help collaborate with you and come up with something better synergistically, because the sum of two parts is greater than them individually, right?
Yeah. We had a pretty cool experience last summer where we worked with a director from Lucasfilm on his short film. We didn't get paid money for it. He helped cover our costs basically for our time. But it was a really cool opportunity for Boston and myself to not only watch him work, but bring our expertise, which was in VR and gaming more than anything else, to the table, and help him out in a way that was really symbiotic. He was learning from us and we were learning from him, and it was great. I don't know, it was a great experience to be able to say that we've worked with someone who directs at Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and so, but that's really important to find people that also you jive with, because like you're gonna work with lots of different people, and you're gonna have different relationships with them. They don't always have to be amazing relationships, but definitely try to find people that you have similar interests with, and ultimately, like, don't put too much energy and emotion into a project that you hurt a friendship because you're trying to make something that's difficult, and that happens. I've heard all the time in YouTube, where people will put too much stress on trying to create something, because it's filmmaking, and YouTube filmmaking specifically is a high stress environment at times, and you need to find people that really you jive with, and you have similar interests and likes and all that sort of stuff. And that kind of leads into a counterintuitive tip. This next tip is gonna be a little bit different, but it's the idea of not rushing. Tip number 6, do not rush. Okay, so what do I mean by that exactly? When it comes down to it, YouTube is fast-paced. You are delivering, you have to keep up with the times. There is like 100,000 hours uploaded to YouTube every 2 seconds. It's insane, right? To compete with the white noise that's out there. But at the same time, when competing with that white noise, if you have a video and you just need to get it up and you didn't edit the sound correctly, and there's 30 seconds where people can't understand what you're saying, that's going to drop off your views, for example. So, and we've had, videos get posted where there's like glaring errors that are going to drive me nuts till the end of time, but it's up there, and they're going to be up there, and they're going to stay up there. And maybe it's something you didn't catch. But if you take the time from very beginning of the process, developing your idea, writing a script, and then on set, really taking the time to get what you need, and then in post-production, spend the time to make it sound good, look good, deliver it well, then you won't run into those problems of losing people over quality, which is not what you want to be doing.
Yeah, well, and even for this last episode of Destiny Girl 3, episode number 3, which we have not released yet, but we will be, we were actually coming back from California at the time, and we had 2 days to shoot episode 3, and we're like, why don't we shoot episode 4 at the same time? Just get everyone together and take 2 days to shoot it. And then we realized much later, about a week later, we're like, no, we need to take the time over those 2 days, even if it's, I think we just did 1 day eventually, but we just didn't want to rush it. We didn't want to be stressed out about it. And frankly, like, we took a full day. We actually shot for 8 hours. And I think from start to finish, you know, between driving and everything, it was pretty much a 12-hour day, to shoot, what is it, like half of the episode, which is probably going to be 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just insane how much time it takes to actually shoot it. And then it's just not very much on the back end. And so, yeah,
but taking that time, like, it ensures that you're going to have something that you're proud of.
Yeah, it does. And I think that this is sort of related, but not as related. But I think it helps also to, like, if you understand that different people on a set have different roles. Like, for instance, when Boston and I, it's just us two on a set, we've got to think about everything. We've got to think about props, makeup, gear, sound. I mean, I feel like we always forget something because it's just the two of us. Rather, if we have a couple other people helping us, Tim, for example, is the best example for this. Like, he would often be in charge of our costumes and props, and we just knew that Tim was on top of costumes and props, and that he wouldn't mess it up because he's just so good at it, you know.
Yeah.
And it would help 1,000% to just know, and that helps with the not rushing, like, and scrambling.
And of course, that again is our 7th tip for making better YouTube videos, and that is focusing on building friendships before building a quote following. I think this is super important, and it kind of goes like undersaid, or like not talked about enough. Really, is the idea that really what you want to be doing when you're building a YouTube channel or building any kind of online presence for your creative pursuits, whether it's filmmaking or anything else, any other, you know, hobby niche that you have, it's all about building genuine connections with people. I honestly believe that having 10 amazing friendships is going to be way better than having 100,000 terrible relationships. You know, like, you really need to build friendships during the process, because the people you meet online and, you know, while you're producing your YouTube videos are going to be the people who, you know, you are able to create better and better art with, and focus on, like, honestly building those one-on-one genuine connections is going to be the best way to approach building your online community. Plus, another piece that I think is really important about this building friendships part is, if you're so focused on a following, you're going to start throwing away the other advice we were talking about today, which is finding your own voice. You're going to be focused on and place a lot of your value in things like how many likes you got, how many views you got, how many like who's sharing it, and that starts to inform your value, rather than, yeah, actually these 10 people saw this video and they went off and made their own works, and they've done these amazing things, and there's less of that personal connection with people. And if your value is based upon those numbers rather than upon relationships, it's not going to be fun. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I felt in, like, all the journeys we've had. We've gone all over the world. We went to the desert, you know, and filmed Halo vs. Destiny, and it was probably the most enjoyable shoot I think we've done, you know, because we had all these people coming together, and there was like such a friendship built amongst all the people who were involved, whether they were cosplayers or whether they were crew members. You know, we had a great time. And so my biggest piece of advice is working on trying to build solid friendships in YouTube rather than building a following on YouTube.
Yeah, amen. You said it.
All right. And so those are our main 7, how would you call them? 7 tips.
7 tips.
7 tips for having a healthy, happy life on YouTube. But if you have any questions, we'd love to field them. Of course, in the comments below this video, we're going to keep this video up on our channel for as long as it needs to be on our channel. But yeah, if you want to ask us specific questions, though, go to our Facebook page, join. It's facebook.com/freakingrad, and on there we'll have dialogues where we explain a little bit more about our process, a little bit more about what we're up to, and ask us questions there. Or if you're particularly interested in marketing yourself as a creative online or learning how to improve your film craft, go to freakingrad.com/learn. We have lots of free resources and things that we'll be sending you in email, so that you will be able to make videos just like we make videos, and or make videos that you want to make, like Stan Lee gave you advice to do. So thanks so much, and if you have any questions, hit us up. We're always here to help.
And remember, keep it rad.